Hello, I'm Justin Pastor. I'm a CUNY student. My question for you guys is, I moved here and I'm not natively from here, but what reasons do each of you have for moving to New York City, and how are the politics in New York City different than the rest of the country?
Well, I was born in New York City. I was born in Brooklyn. I have lived in Manhattan most of my life, though I've been living in Brooklyn for the past 4 years, just about 2 or 3 miles from where I was born. I love New York. I think it is fun, it is brilliant. If it's happening here. You can go from one neighborhood to another and go from one sort of real feel of culture to another. It has variety, it has charm, it is a special place. I love it even in a way more tenderly since 9/11/01, when the people of New York showed who they are and what they have inside them in a way that America really recognized. I will never forget, after just about 6 months or a year after 9/11, I was talking to a real estate agent at some sort of gathering, and I asked her how business was, thinking that after 9/11, you know, apartment rentals and apartment buying would really be down in Manhattan. And she said, "Oh, it's brilliant. It's wonderful." I said, "You're kidding, why?" And she said, "Are you kidding? Everybody's seen New York for 6 months, 9 months now. Everybody wants to live here now." It was so moving. So I just think New York is fabulous. What is it politically? Oh, you know what it is politically. Oh, it is hogs at a trough.
But it is different from the rest of the country.
But, oh, how is it different? Did you hear what Ted said? He said, no. He said, how is it different from the rest of the country? It's a bigger, deeper trough. Politically, I live an odd life as a conservative in one of the great liberal cities of the world. And that's fine with me. It makes things, it gives an extra tang to things.
Why do you think
Ted?
Well,
Michael?
I would agree with all of that, and add that I'm a lawyer. I'm an international lawyer. I've been all over the world, and this is the greatest city in the world. It truly is. But when my years of service ended in Washington, if I wanted to have an international law practice, in those days, in any event, it had to be either in Washington or in New York. And so many of the lawyers in Washington were lobbyists, and part of what we see now is now called the culture of corruption, for good reason. I didn't want to be part of that scene, and so I came to New York and I joined a great law firm. Strange, 40 years ago today, come to think of it.
Oh! Holy mackerel.
But I'm from the great state of Nebraska, and our pep song out there is called "There Is No Place Like Nebraska," and I still believe it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask you one quick follow-up question on that? Is how is Michael Bloomberg and Giuliani, how has the city been run by two prominent Republicans in a city that's so lopsided, Democratic? And it seems like the Democratic Party is having a very difficult time kind of trying to regain that role. And why is it?
Yeah, it's having a difficult time in a way, but in a way, look, we have a mayor who is a Republican because he figured out a few years ago that he could only win the election if he declared himself a Republican. He was a lifelong Democrat. And there's a lot of Democrat in Mike Bloomberg. So to the extent that you think he's doing well, I think Democrats should take you know, some cheering rights for him. I will tell you about Rudy Giuliani. I have a hunch that the size of his achievement in this city is only now and in the what is it, in the near future or the future which is coming sooner than we think, going to catch up with us. His achievement was not only 9/11, in which he was a leader who was heroically specific. He bothered to know everything that was going on and then to report to you everything that was going on, and you watched him and you realized, my God, everything seems to be falling apart at the moment, but that guy's taking responsibility. And everybody really appreciated it, and I believe rightly so. 2 or 3 days after 9/11, I was outside St. Patrick's Cathedral, where the Cardinal, who I think was Cardinal O'Connor at the time, I may be wrong, called together the people of the city of New York to have a big mass to mark those who died in 9/11. I was standing out there just with the crowd watching who was going to show up. Rudy Giuliani came up in a car, and suddenly the crowd broke into Rudy, 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 the great chant of that era that I had never heard before, and I think had not been said before. I think that was the beginning of it. At any rate, what he did with regard to taxes, changes in policing in New York, changes in attitudes and insistence that people feel safe here, I think was so important, and we are still benefiting from it, and I think we're just starting to really, truly appreciate it. I think he was a Republican triumph. That guy really is a Republican.
Should we have our next questioner.
You want me to answer?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Ted disagrees.
Yeah, you're right, I do.
Okay.
But you should discount my view because of the story I'm going to tell. It happens to be a story, when you get to know me better, you'll know I tell stories as answers to almost every question. But it's a story more about Boston than about New York, but it illustrates my point. It's about a previous White House assistant, a very important one, who preceded me by some years, named Robert Cutler, who was a famous Boston banker. And he became Eisenhower's national security advisor. And the story, supposedly a true story, was told of the two bankers meeting on State Street in Boston, and one saying to the other, "Say, I hear Bobby Cutler has become really quite important." And the other one said, "Only nationally." That's
Yeah.
I tell that because I know a lot about politics and government, but only nationally. I'm not an expert on New York.